Wow, what's good, YouTube? It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the amazing LDBC, Lions Den Boxing community. Before we go any further in the video, like the video, share the video, comment, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell so you can be alerted anytime I post any new videos. All right, the subject and the topic of this particular video is Jaron Boots Ennis. All right, Jaron Boots Ennis is a young and up-and-coming fighter. I think he's the real deal. I think he's the future of the welterweight division. But for whatever reason, it seems like he often garners a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, hate, criticism. Initially, the first person that really kind of, that I saw that really kind of, I don't know, I guess, I wouldn't say dissed, but kind of misspoke about Jaron Boots Ennis with Shawn Porter. And one thing I say about Shawn Porter, even though I wasn't a huge fan of him outside the ring, but in terms of a fighter, he fought the best competition. He fought Errol Spence Jr., he fought Terrence Bud Crawford, he fought Keith one-time Thurman. I mean, he fought literally all the best fighters in the welterweight division. So as a fighter, I was a huge fan of his in terms of just always fighting the best competition, always giving us the best fights. I mean, he fought Udain Azugas, he fought everybody in the welterweight division, all right? I don't know the exact time frame, maybe a couple months ago on his podcast, he was talking about Jaron Ennis, and basically he was saying Jaron Ennis is overhyped and overrated, whatever the case may be. I saw it and, I thought he intentionally did it. And in that particular instance, I'm not going to say Jaron Ennis is overhyped or overrated. I think he's just unproven at this stage in his career. Because to me, I mean, he has loads of potential. I think he's a future superstar in the sport of boxing. And for him to say what he said, I think he just was trying to use that as clickbait to garner a lot of attention. All right, now, spinning forward to a little while later, now Timothy Bradley, when he was asked about if Jaron Boots Ennis fought Terrence Crawford, who would win, and basically he was saying that Terrence Crawford would pretty much destroy Jaron Ennis. Now, understand this, like I said, I'm going to reiterate this. I think Jaron Ennis is a future star in boxing, a future superstar in my opinion, but he's unproven. Now, to be honest, truthfully speaking, I thought the same thing about David Reed, and look how that turned out. But even with that being said, to say Terrence Crawford would destroy him, I don't think that's accurate in my opinion. Of course, we don't know yet because he's unproven. I mean, at this stage in his career, I really don't want to see Jaron Ennis fight Terrence Bud Crawford anyway. I would like to see, of course, I've stated this numerous times, Terrence Bud Crawford fight Errol Spence Jr. for undisputed. To me, I think that's a fight to make in the welterweight division. I don't want to see Keith Thurman even in the picture. So hopefully we could get that fight sooner rather than later. But in terms of Jaron Ennis, I mean, I think he would give anyone a tough time in the welterweight division, whether it's Errol Spence Jr. or even Terrence Bud Crawford. Even though he's unproven, I think he's a future superstar in the sport, and I think he's up and coming. Once Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., once they fight for undisputed and they're out of the picture in terms of the welterweight division, I think Jaron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz are the future. And spinning it forward, projecting it down the line, I would say Jaron Ennis has a brighter future in the welterweight division. That's just in my personal opinion, over Virgil Ortiz. And hopefully down the line, those will be the two top welterweights, and we'll see a mega showdown down the line with those two fighters. But in terms of Jaron Ennis, I don't understand where all the hate comes from. And back to what I was saying about Timothy Bradley. Timothy Bradley, of course, just to kind of preface it, he's quote-unquote so-called friends with Terrence Crawford, because even if you look at some of the fights that Timothy Bradley, when he gets to talking about Terrence Crawford, I'm thinking to myself, if that guy's my friend, I don't need those type of friends. But even with that being said, there's a little bit of a conflict of interest. So, of course, he's going to favor Terrence Crawford when he's talking about a potential fight or showdown with Jaron Ennis and Terrence Crawford. So he's going to favor Bud because they're friends. But even with that being said, to me at this point, I just kind of feel like Timothy Bradley, I just don't agree with a lot of things he said. Him and Andre Ward, and speaking of Andre Ward, when it comes to the telecast, ESPN, I was a huge Andre Ward fan, because at the time, a lot of detractors of Floyd Mayweather Jr., the thing about it was, even though a lot of people, myself included, liked his talent in the ring, they didn't like some of Floyd's antics outside the ring and the way he was living his life. But Andre Ward was promoted as being the antithesis of that, the opposite, the complete polar opposite of what Floyd Mayweather Jr. was. And just to kind of see him doing these ESPN telecasts, it just seems as if he's a company man, and everything they advertise him to be and promoted him to be as a fighter, to me, he just seems like he's none of those things. I mean, don't get me wrong, nobody's perfect. We all have our shortcomings, we all have our flaws. But even with that being said, to me, it just seemed like he's just a company man, and he's not everything he was billed and hyped to be as a fighter, in terms of just being this stand-up Christian guy, whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just don't see it. But back to Jaron Ennis, I think Jaron Ennis would give any welterweight, whether it's Spence or Crawford, I think he would give him a tough fight. Now, like I said, I could be wrong, because he's up and coming. He's a unproven fighter at this stage in his career, but I like the way his career is projecting. I mean, he's just putting one foot in front of the other, and he's just gradually building his career. So in terms of Timothy Bradley, in terms of Sean Porter, I don't understand why he's getting so much flack from these guys. Of course, you can say he's unproven, but to say he's overhyped and overrated and Bud Crawford would destroy him, those type of things, I just think that's inaccurate, And even with Sean Porter, I mean, I know he fought his last fight against Terrence Crawford, but if you're not an active fighter and you've retired and you have no intentions on fighting Jaron Ennis, because he stated this, that he's done fighting, he wouldn't fight Jaron Ennis anyway, because Jaron Ennis is an up-and-coming star, and he's retired. But even with that being said, if you don't have no intent on fighting Jaron Ennis, why make these type of statements? Why say these things for the exception of clickbait? To me, it just was merely clickbait. It's just something to garner some attention and some interest to his podcast. And like I said about Timothy Bradley, I mean, basically, of course, he's an ESPN guy, he's a company man, but even with that being said, I know Crawford, well, at this stage, he's no longer with ESPN. He's no longer with Top Rank, but even with that being said, they are friends, Bradley and Crawford. So it's a conflict of interest, and of course he's gonna favor Crawford. I mean, of course, if they were to actually fight, I would favor Crawford, but to say he would destroy Ennis, even though Ennis is unproven, I mean, he has, to me, he has a lot of potential. He's an up-and-coming star, so I wouldn't say he would destroy him. And I mean, we don't. Who knows? I mean, of course, Spence and Crawford will both be favored to beat Ennis, but we don't know what those fights would turn out to be. But I mean, it doesn't matter anyway, because the fight I truly want to see is Spence Crawford for undisputed. In my estimation, I think it could be just a good two-fight deal where they will fight each other with an immediate rematch clause, and then whoever wins gets 60-40, for the second fight, and it'll be a good fight. And then whoever wins, well, either whoever wins, or if they both win, they could both move up to junior welterweight, and just campaign at that particular weight class. But that's just my opinion. I think Jaron Ennis is a future star in the sport of boxing. I think he's a potential superstar, and for him to go into all this, I don't know, like hate or criticism or whatever you want to call it, I think it's unwarranted. Even Yordan Azugas took a shot at him maybe about a month or two ago. So it's ridiculous. I mean, and one thing about Yordan Azugas, I mean, I know he's getting ready to fight Errol Spence Jr. For unification, but I mean, if you're not gonna fight him in the near future, then what's the point in you bringing his name up? So like the video, share the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel. Once more, this is Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the amazing LDBC Lions Den boxing community. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.